Alright, so let's try to show you the GitHub plugin for the BF portal editor. So this is actually a plugin for a browser extension. So the browser extension by Lennard adds a lot of useful functionality to the portal editor and additionally adds the possibility to add further plugins to it. You can install the extension, that would be the first thing from any of the browser stores, or of course download, clone this repository itself and install it. And once you have installed the add-on, you can pin the add-on or extension, whatever it's called in the browser of your choice. You can pin this to be shown and click on it, so you will get some further options. Basically this plugins page. There you can just click add plugin, and as given in the description of this GitHub plugin repository, you can put this URL in here, which will basically load the plugin. So there you can review the source code if anything suspicious would be ongoing there if you add this, or whatsoever. And simply click confirm. Okay, now I got this 3 times. Of course I don't want this. So let's remove it. And so basically you should end up with this last line. Once you have done this, you can launch your portal editor. Then when you open the rules editor section, you should see this little pop-up at the bottom, initializing GitHub plugin. So this is a good indicator that the plugin is working. If you had opened a rules editor section already and added the plugin, you would have to hard reload the portal editor in order to pick it up, that plugin. And once you have done loading, you can now right click anywhere in the workspace, not on a block but on a workspace, to get the GitHub options. So on the first place, if you have not set up anything, you will only have the option for the GitHub setup item. And if you click that one, a little dialog opens. So of course, in order to use GitHub, you would need a GitHub account. And currently this plugin is working with personal access tokens. So you would need to have a GitHub account and create a personal access token for it. So that's pretty easy, I'd say. If you logged in and on your profile settings, there you have developer settings, and you can then under personal access tokens create any kind of personal access token. And so let me just generate a new token. So there you specify a scope as repo, write a description what that token is for, have an expiration date whatsoever, just name it plugin token. And so really the only essential thing that you currently need with this plugin is the repo scope, because of course we want to edit and download stuff from a repository. So now this is basically the password which you would then, or your access token which you put in over here. So now that I've shown this to you, I would rather not use it. So if you created one, make sure, of course, as the instructions say, save it somewhere as a password in your password manager or whatsoever. then put it up here, and once you tap away, unfortunately this looks a bit sketchy right now, it's not pretty good, but once you tap away from this password field, it will have a process indicator and login in the background, and then you will get a selection of possible repositories that you have. Now, of course, in order to have a selection of repositories, you would have to create one first for your own in your account. So therefore, you simply go to your account page, and now I'm a bit puzzled, but on the repositories tab, you should have an option to create a new repository. Let's simply call this BF 2042 test. Yay, it's available. Make sure to initialize this repository. You can choose to have a public or private repository. I personally like open source and allowing anybody to see and edit and reuse things, so that's a cool thing. Would encourage you to do the same, but of course, if you want to be left alone with your stuff, you can also select it to be private. So then simply go ahead, create a repository. So this will give you a workspace with simply a README file, which you could edit, but basically you have a repository with a main branch. So let's log in again and get our list, and then we should see BF 2042 test. We select that. We also select the branch on which we want to work, so usually this is the main branch. Then I recommend you to set commit on save, but there's also something implemented called auto commit, where after every XYZ changes you make, it will do a commit in the background automatically. So you don't have to mind whether you forgot to save after some changes or not. It will automatically save every 30 changes that you make. And for the counting, you would have to select what kind of changes need to be considered. So you maybe don't want to consider any kind of moving blocks or dragging blocks, so you leave them apart, but deleting, creating and changing blocks, this is what you want. Comments, I don't care. Variables, of course, everything. So this could be, for example, a setup for auto commit or auto save, so to say. But I personally don't like it. I rather save on purpose. So if you're done with the settings and selecting which repository to connect this current experience to, click OK. Nothing special will happen. It's just saved in the background. And now you might have done some editing, put up some code over here, and then you want, or you can basically click on the save button. So you will see that commit on save is enabled as this save button is now highlighted. And if you click on save, it will prompt you for a so-called commit message. So this is nothing else than a short description of what you have done. And on your first commit, I don't know, you usually want to type something like initial commit, or you type something like changed coordinates of XYZ, whatsoever. Then you simply press OK. And once you press OK, in the background it will create a commit on your repository, and of course also will try to save your workspace. So you saw the quick commit which was done. It was committed successfully. You saw the commit ID, and what is currently failing is probably the saving of the workspace on Portal itself. So this is another benefit which you gain with this plugin. So your workspace work will be saved in a file in your repository, even though the Portal save might not work out. And you can always load the latest version again with this GitHub plugin as well. So, for example, maybe Portal didn't save, or I remove some things in here. I want get my last save again. Then you can use GitHub pull. Once you have set up, there will be a warning that doing the pull will completely replace your workspace with the last saved status in your repository on the select branch. If you select so, you can see all the things are back again. So that's one useful thing. And that's how you get started, I'd say. Now, if you do any further kind of changes, like I add a block in here, whatsoever, and I want to save that status, I just give my description, click OK, see it's committing, it committed, and again, Portal itself seems to be failing, but you don't have to care. So you can just continue working, and only once you want to test your experience, of course, then you would want to make sure that the actual Portal experience is saved. Now, if we go back to our repository, you see right now we only have a README, but in the meantime, we should see 2 commits or version updates. And what the plugin is doing in the background is it adds the workspace XML file where basically all your blocks will be recorded in a file. And in order, if you want to know what you have done, you can check your commits and see, okay, we did an initial commit. Okay, somehow did another initial commit, I don't know. And we added a block, and yeah, so in this way you can save your states of work, giving a little hint what you have done, what has changed. And if you want to go back to any kind of that state, of course you can just check out that commit and would even be able to retrieve the version of that. So that's of course the purpose of Git, a version control system for software, and that might be quite useful for Portal or complex Portal experience. If you want to go back and forth, might have done something wrong, simply want to revert to an older state, that's how you can do it. If you download, for example, this old state, and with the plugin there also comes the option to import a formatted XML file. So this is how the plugin stores things. It's a formatted XML file, and you could restore an old file this way. Yeah, I would say that's it for the beginning. And maybe to add on how to work on an experience together, you could either add somebody to your repository as a contributor, so they would have access to your repository as well, and could basically then do the same things if they have their personal account, access token, etc. They can connect to the same repository and also update or upload their commits there using the plugin. And basically how you would like should work is using issues. So like you put up issues for any kind of features that you want to implement, and the best would be to define features which can be implemented quite independently code-wise, so they don't interfere with each other. And maybe we want to set up a display message in the experience, and You usually then have your main branch and don't want to mess with that version, so to say. And you can create a separate branch for that to work on this issue, so to say, and your main branch stays unaffected by your changes. And so yeah, the way how you usually want to work is to set up an issue for the feature you want to work on, or the multiple features, and create a separate branch for it. And GitHub luckily provides you all the necessary features you want or need for Git on the website itself, so you don't need to mess around with any kind of local Git installation, but just use the GitHub website. And yeah, so let's say we want to set up a display message, but don't want to mess with our current state on our main branch or our main version, so to say. Then we go ahead, create the issue, create a branch for it. So GitHub will also provide you an automatic name. I try to keep it simple. And we simply click on create branch. And now also back in your experience, you want to start working on that branch and not on the main branch anymore. Then of course you go to the setup dialog again, do a login. Yeah, you would have to reselect it. Sorry for that right now. And now you would see your separate branch. You select it, and now your commits or saves will go to that separate branch. And yeah, for example, we will just create a display game mode message block over here and say, okay, that's it. I'm done with my work. Let's save it. Just give it a neat description. It's committing in the background, committed. And now you see the branch over here. Can click on it. And now there's something called pull requests. So you want to merge your work, what you have done over there, into your main version or main branch. And therefore GitHub also provides you directly the option to compare and pull the differences between your feature branch and your main branch. So we click on that, and it's automatically checking whether it can merge your changes into the main branch, and says, yeah, that's possible, green. And you can describe a little bit what you've done, what you're merging, and say create pull requests. So this usually then goes to the original repository owner to check it, approve it, and do the final merge if this code is correct. But of course, in a simple setup, you can just do it on your own or do it without any kind of approval review whatsoever. And say finally merge pull request if all these checks are relevant. There of course might be issues where something has changed in the meantime on the main version and you were editing the same thing, and then it will say there are conflicting changes. So you will get something like you have conflicts, and then GitHub will show you the file and show you what kind of blocks maybe are added in a different way, and you can decide which version you want to keep of that specific blocks. In our case, the change was straightforward, no conflicts there. We can simply merge our display message into our main version and confirm the merge. And of course, usually if your feature is implemented, then you can also delete the branch at the end. Maybe to visualize what just happened, I hope that it's working, is if you check on the commits in the Insights tab. No, that's not what I wanted. Network, I guess it was. Yes. You could have multiple users doing different branches, so you have your gray main branch in this case, you see what you have done at which date, and that blue line you see over here is our feature branch that we opened at this point, then did some changes, and finally merged our changes back into the main branch. So this is also how you could visualize things. Yeah, maybe I can share you how a complex or a more complex versioning would look like. So for example, we have frontlines mode being done, and there we have the main branch, but we also have a development branch, we have a feature branch. So this is maybe another safety feature which you might want to use, that you have a development branch, and from that development branch you create different feature branches and first merge them into a development branch to see whether the merge is working out fine, and only once the development version is working fine, you finally merge into your main branch. This is quite common art of working, and yeah, might want to try that as well. And of course also a README can be quite extensive in such GitHub repository, so can explain a little bit on your mode using this feature as well. And to view the history, yeah, you can see what were the single steps being done quite easily and good by all these kind of native utilities and features that GitHub or Git on its own provide. Again, also on the insights, you could see also the merge pull requests, and see where something came from, where it was developed to, etc. So don't maybe reference this. It might be a little bit chaotic and not what it should be like, but yeah, just an example how things could look like. And I'd say that's it. Happy coding.